Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Looks like we got sound. Welcome everyone to SEO This Week, episode 178. This week starts the new format, the new way we're going to do the show to kind of help out and just kind of make this whole thing congruent to my entire marketing plan, as you were. So with that, we got some new looks, we got some new things. I'd like to give a shout out to Adrian. He showed me a cool video so I can kind of step up the production game. And that's what I was working on right before the show. That's why we're doing an hour late. But you can see we're going to add some new features. You get some new stuff. You can see some new things, etc. And kind of get going. One of the cool things that I like here is we'll be able to integrate the YouTube chat and kind of watch that and talk to you guys at the same time as instead of just reading the questions and maybe the magic commenter. So we got that going on. And with that, I want to go ahead and talk about the new format. First off, what we're going to do is I'm not really going to talk about the news anymore. I'll tell you the stories that are there. We'll do the roll up, and the roll up will be posted on the webpage. The webpage will have this video, and it will also have all the links for the news stories. And then afterwards, when I get time, I'll go in and update the news story information with my opinions and just kind of, or even just kind of red flag the ones that I think you guys should look at and take the little piece out of, just to help you kind of digest that a little bit. And also you'll see some of the output from the site audits. The next thing will be the site audit on page, off page, and link building. We'll look at sites that I would consider for myself to be potential clients. I will do audits for the viewers, assuming there is a potential client relationship there. But if you just want a regular site audit, you're probably better off requesting that from the for what ranks, and that's my other or through SIA, preferably SIA. You join that, and then I do site audits for members there as requested all the time. So otherwise, the site audits will be businesses that I can see us doing, that we can help and actually secure as clients. So and I pick them at random. There is no rhyme or reason. Just, hey, I'm doing some keyword research in this market, and I'm looking at it, and this is this client that I saw, and I think there's an opportunity here. For you, if you're an SEO agency or something like that, let me tell you that this is probably the least effective way to get leads. You can shoot out like some information, kind of put together a little bit of packets and stuff like that, or answer proposals. But for a cold outreach method, this is probably the most time-consuming way to do it. And it does not scale very well, exceptionally if you're a one-man band. You need an editor. You need someone to actually go through and do the audits for you, put it all together into a nice little package, and then drop it off and then rinse and repeat until you get some clients. Again, not an effective SEO method for lead generation, but on the flip side of that, there's some great exposure and stuff that goes along here too. So if you're thinking about videos for audits for SEO, I'm going to show you some things, and you probably catch on some things that I built that I can turn into things of use, i.e. the video itself, ranking for the business name, ranking for SEO this week, and I got some free content, right? And then you'll see some content piece that I built that I can use for audit and some link stuff and some data collection for future needs and all that stuff. So everything that I'm doing is all multi-purpose, right? So you get to see that. And then you get to see kind of how I look at websites from that perspective. So I hope that you guys all appreciate it. So with that, we're going to move on to the news highlights. There's 10 stories on the post today. You can find the link in the description below. And of the 4 is the Brighton SEO slides. It was a paid talk this year. I think it was 300 to get there, and then another 500 if you were on VIP status. I'm not really sure what VIP status got you, but the presentations are typically pretty decent, and you can get some nuggets out of there. I get a lot of testing stuff out of the Brighton SEO set, so you can see that slide deck. There's a couple posts inside of there on ranking for people also ask and how to leverage that. I'm going to kind of do maybe a little add-on video to help you take the 2 posts and turn that into a little bit of information and give you a little bit of an aha moment. And that might help you leverage PAAs a little better and get some more traffic out of them at the same time. There's a title tag tool in there I think you'll like. It's not like the other tools in so much as, you only go this many pixels or this many characters or whatever, and it kind of gives you the counts, and you really got to figure it out yourself. But it's a little cool, and I think you'll enjoy that tool. And then there's a post on ranking SaaS that I thought was interesting. That's got a couple features, like if you ever seen Brian Dean, he talks about content hubs. Well, this guy's using content hubs in a whole new way, and then using free tools behind or in front of your paid tool so that you can generate free traffic for the free tools, and then build awareness for your SaaS. So that's another thing that I think you're going to like in there. All right, so that's it for the news. Like I said, there's 10 stories in there. A couple of them overlap and kind of intertwine with each other, and I think you'll enjoy that. So let me know how you like the new news presentation. If you want to be emailed the link and the list of the articles and all that stuff in advance, so you can come back and through, wait a couple days. I'll have a pop-up on top of digitallear.com. You can join my newsletter. And then being on that newsletter, you'll get an email of all the topics that are addressed in the episode. And then I'll put a little bit, sentence or two of my notes and what I think you guys may or may not want to take out of that. So hopefully that turns into something really nice. Okay. Let's see where else. That's it. So now let's get on to the site audit. And if you were watching last week when I announced what I was going to do, I found a website last week, and I'm going to stick with that one just because I already talked about it, right? And go to the screen. So just to recap how I found it, I was looking through the ads. I was looking in particular, the 3 new client bases I want to take, 3 niches, right? Lawyers, dentists, and cosmetic surgeons, not necessarily in that order. And then those are the ones I want to focus on so I can get nice systems in place and rebuild Digital Ear from the position where we're kind of niched out. We have systems. We know what this is going to do when we do X, Y, and Z, and we build that process out really well, right? So I did as I looked through the ads, and just so you know, these are all ads here. And now if you click on this sponsored button here, if you weren't aware of this, it tells you who of these here are all paying, and you can see all 3 of them are paying, which was the intent behind the whole Google screen thing that Google wanted to do anyway. And then you have the 2 paid ads here, and then you have another set down here. Typically, I just look down here because they want to be on page 1, but they're not getting as much clicks. They don't want to spend like crazy money trying to jump up here. And this is again an indication of 1, that the business is actually spending money on advertising, and then 2, they're doing it in a smart way. So ultimately, that's what we ended up doing. I found this firm last week, and we're going to look at their website. Let me clear that. So we look at their website, we want to talk about some things on conversion rate and why we want to why we're going after these people that are advertising on PPC. So, and first is, if the money stops, PPC stops, right? All that traffic goes away. It's just kind of the nature of how that stuff works. And ultimately, if you're doing it right, you want to send your traffic to a landing page. You'll generate the leads, and then you put them in an email list, and then you can email them over and over again, and then all that traffic is essentially free. And the middle of the road way of that is actually SEO, where you spend your money in PPC, and then you find out where your conversions are. And then you take that conversions information and you apply that to your SEO campaign and rank for those pages that are actually providing more money for you. So conversions to SEO equals more money, right? And then the higher you are in organic and the more organic you have, the increased conversion rate, because those searchers are now even more self-qualified than PPC are. PPC, you can kind of narrow it down, right? Like personal injury attorney Phoenix, and that's kind of where you're going for, and those people are looking around for it. But when you actually get into organic, those are the people that have passed the ads, they've passed the maps, and they're looking specifically at websites that can solve their problem. And your website being in the top 3 positions it puts you in the position to actually be the problem solver, right? And ultimately, you increase your conversion rate because your traffic is better. It may not be more, but it will be better, and you reduce your customer acquisition costs all around. Which is really valuable, because we'll see later that the average settlement in the state of Arizona is $21,000. So if if you're doing a cost per customer of $150, and that's turning into $21,000 on average, you're actually looking pretty good in your ROIs. Again, that's an average. A lawyer, obviously operating in Arizona and Phoenix specifically, would have a better understanding of that. So we want to look at those conversion stuff, and in order to do that, we just got to think a little bit about what your website is doing, what it has in place. And I always start here, because if you don't, you leave out a lot of important factors. And mainly is, what are you doing to convert the website and then turn that into those visitors that actually get there into money. And the first thing is the call to actions. It stands out. Like, what is it? What's it about? What's in it for me is what we're looking at. So we're landing on this page. It's obviously a lawyer. What's it about? Is the personal injury lawyer. And then what's in it for me? A trusted lawyer who accident victims can turn to. This line here, accident victims can turn to us. We're a trusted personal injury lawyer. It kind of catches you a little bit better. This here, a trusted personal injury lawyer who blah blah blah, is kind of boilerplate, if you want to say it right. And that could be a little bit of an issue. However, from an SEO perspective, having that stuff in here is actually pretty good, because you're covering an outline from an SEO perspective, telling the search results what your web page is about. And as you see, the SEO who did this, personal injury lawyer Phoenix, that's good. Phoenix, that has it in there. Lawyers, personal injuries practice. Clients, I would take that out, because clients is kind of related. It could be considered a entity that Google is looking at through natural language processing, but for the most part, it's probably not. And then main office and offices, I would take those out of your headings there as part of a standard practice. Going into the H3s, you can see these are some more of your headings that they're just kind of out of control, and that's really from a design point of view. This one's good because it has Arizona. I would delete that one, delete that one, delete. And when I say delete, you obviously want those in there, but you want to actually not use the H tags. You just use the font size, and that's a dev thing that could be easily taken care of. with your web designer. And then I'd add an H4 just to kind of round out the whole quote unquote outline. Title tag is actually looking good, and your meta description is really good. I like that it's actually targeting Phoenix. It's got your personal injury lawyer, and then it talks about cars, trucks, and motorcycles, which are, for those of you that don't know the firm or haven't had a chance to look at it, they target car accident, truck accident, motorcycle accidents ultimately. And we'll see a little bit of that later when we go through their SEM rush. All right, so we got all of that, and we're looking at it from an on-page perspective now. And a couple of the things we do is a technical SEO, and that's really tools. So everyone, you can run over and you can go to like a My Site Auditor or any of those where it says drop in your link and it spits out these little things for you for your website and says this is what you have to do to SEO. Well, that's a tool. It's a decent tool, but really the good ones, the actual ones that SEO experts are using, leverage more stuff at an enterprise level. So we want to look at the technical SEO of the site. We want to look at links and site structure, indexability, redirects, on page. And when I talk about on page, I'm talking about content from an SEO perspective. The technical SEO and on page kind of overlap. We're going to look at duplicate content issues and then XML sitemap stuff. So to get the duplicate content, it's really easy. I want to check a couple things. One, I want to remove this trailing slash. And if the page doesn't redirect to the trailing slash again, I know that you have two pages of the same thing. The same thing you can do actually right here is remove the HTTP. If it doesn't automatically redirect, then you know you have two copies of your website. And then we'll do www because you're not using it as a default, and make sure that redirects, and that does too. So that's ultimately when we're talking about duplicate content, especially on a local level. Like I could take this page and I can make this Scottsdale, Tempe, Fountain Hills, Mesa, and then change the instances of Phoenix in here and adapt a little bit and add a little bit of content for that other city. And that is no longer duplicate content. And it isn't from a local SEO perspective. Those pages are perfectly within standard because the algorithm knows there's only so many ways that you can talk about being a personal injury lawyer. And if you're targeting several cities, why in the world would you rewrite and create individual content for the same thing for different cities, right? So Google understands that. We're looking more from duplicate content perspective is this content on other websites? And you actually can create a lot of that stuff inside of your own content management systems. And one of the ways is that example I just showed is the checking the screen. And I don't think I showed it. Let me check for make sure I did. So as you can see there, I just deleted the trailing slash and it redirected. I'm going to delete the HTTP and it should redirect. And then I'm going to add www, and that should redirect as well. If it didn't do that and all those instances worked, that would be up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 copies of your website. That would be duplicate content. We don't want to have that. Okay, and the next thing we'll look at is actually at the website from a technical SEO perspective, and that's when we bust out one of our favorite tools, and it's the Siteball website audit tool. Again, a tool is a tool is a tool. It's the actual practitioner and being able to put this together for you to make it useful information. That is the real value here. As you can see, the audit score is 89, SEO score is 89, security score is 77, and the page speed score is 85. These are all just benchmarks. Whether you hit 100 or not, at the end of the day, it's about ranking. Some things that we like to look at in particular is the orphan page count. Let me bring that back. Right here is the orphan page count. These are pages on your website that are being In this case, these pages are actually being redirected on your website. We want to find those URLs and figure out what is going on with that and why they're there all together. But at the end of the day, your site structure is typically on average only 4 clicks deep, which is really good. The more they got to click to actually get to the money page, the more a user will hit your website. So this is actually really good. I like seeing that. And then we'll look at the crawl map, and this is just a site structure example of how the robots would see your website. And as you can see, the site structure of this website is actually really solid, and it gives some great points already for link building improvement, etc. When we get back into the SEO tips, and I'll focus mainly on those since that's what we're talking about, and we can look at some of the internal stuff, things that I would actually, talk about and not do. And you can see there's a system that's set up that is automatically 301ing bad URLs on you. This is called a soft 404 redirect. Google hates it, and it's kind of it's almost like an old trick to redirect link juice from expired domains into different domains. And you don't want that soft 404 redirect showing up in Google, and that's what these are creating right here. So that's an indication of something that should probably be fixed right away. And then there's a no script tag inside of your header. I haven't looked in this specifically. This is kind of a sensitive tool. So it could be like a Google Analytics, a Google Tag Manager, etc. Sometimes those scripts fire off this no script thing here. That is a potential security issue that needs to work out just in case you have something going on and someone's loading something or creating pages on your domain that you don't want them to. And then again, here's the orphan pages, and those are those redirects that we saw in the highlight, and we really want to fix those and address those. And then some broken pages, not very many on your website. We want to fix those. And then let's see. And that looks like that's really it for significant stuff. There's not a whole lot of bad going on this website. It's actually really good. And then we look at the duplicate content. This is just the test that I did that I showed you. This is just the programmatically doing it and looking at it, and you're actually doing pretty good. Here we see these URLs. It says duplicate. We want to look at those and just see why the bot considers it duplicate. But if you look at it as categories, and so category pages tend to have duplicate content, especially if when you're writing, you're not using excerpts. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It gets to be a bad thing when you have the categories and the tags and the data archives and all that stuff in there. So this is certainly not something that we're really be concerned with at this point from an on-page SEO perspective. I'm going to jump back over to the website a little bit because we're talking about the content here, and this one's getting a little tricky. And if whether you're an SEO practitioner or a business owner, I think we all have heard high quality content. Build high quality content. You don't need link building because the magic fairies will come and float their local ranking juice on your website, and you'll do well. Well, at the end of the day, that's complete and utter crap. What you really need to do is actually write high quality content that is optimized in a great way that the search engines can read it and understand what it's about. And the number one tool that we actually use here at Digital Ear to do that and to either write or rewrite your content is a tool called Phrase. This one's really popular. What you're looking at is a list of entities. I don't know if you're familiar with entities, but it's related words, persons, places, things, or events that are supposed to be or more likely to be inside of a piece of content written about your topic, and then it pulls that entities list. As you can see, I actually pulled the website's content using the import tool. It actually works really well for the most part. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So, but in this case, it actually graded at a 44. Our standard Digital Ear is our content comes out of Phrase at 100, regardless of what we're doing. So if we have to add more keywords, etc., that's what we'll do. In this case, the competition count, the average keyword count is 1,700. anyone who follows me and knows that we are not a keyword or word count follower or practitioner, as it were. Uh, it's a great metrics to have. It's something else to bounce off of your eh, to when you're looking at competition and just doing your competitive analysis and stuff. But for the most part, we like to get close to it. But the key here in this tool in particular is to make sure we get to 100 by adding the relevant terms and making sure that Google understands. We are forcing the algorithm to understand that this is the topics that are on this page, and this is what it's about. From there, we take it over and we actually compare it to the competition that you have going on. And we do that with this other tool that's called cognitive SEO. You can do this yourself if you want to. You just run in here and type and fill in the content based off of the content assistant. Unfortunately, this website actually cognitive SEO couldn't pull the website in, so I couldn't actually see what their current score is. But I'll tell you that any score that is this low in phrase is going to be in the teens inside of cognitive SEO. We've gotten pages to 100 in here and brought them in. On average, they come out to around 75. But if you look at the quality content scores for this market, 94 to 95 is probably where you want to be going when you're talking about content quality. And this is really the grade. This is kind of how everyone or we are able to grade what high quality content is using this content performance writing system. So that's really how we handle the on-page stuff. It sounds like a lot of work, and actually it kind of is. It's more tedious and time consuming, and most people don't want to take the time to apply that level. And because most people aren't doing it, that's why most people aren't seeing the results from their SEO campaigns as much as they should. Okay, and then finally, we want to look at some conversion stuff just while we're still on the website and talking about things that we want to do to change the website and make it actually run a whole lot better. And one of those things is actually looking at an analysis. This is a look at the top 100 people that are ranking for the Phoenix injury lawyer keyword, and then we analyze what they're doing and we correlate that. Now, the number one thing that you hear in the SEO community is correlation is not causation. But if there's so much correlation that you can infer causation through and then verify causation through testing, then you're actually really good. And that's exactly what is happening here with this tool. If you remember, we were talking about entities inside of phrase and cognitive SEO. You can see the number 2 ranking factors for this keyword are entities in the SEO. You need to be talking about persons, places, things, and events inside of your content if you want to rank. Actually, here I missed it. It's the top 3. The top 3 for this keyword are entities. So knowing that information, if we wanted to take the lead, we'd have to add some more stuff, more content, and more entity usage in here. We don't do this solely, like it says right here, add 830 more words, persons, places, things, and there's a list right here of different entities. We don't add 830 of those. That's just craziness, right? So, but we do add a lot more. We leverage structured data markup. We leverage the HTML, etc., inside of your website to get this count higher. And more realistically, I think we would be looking at probably getting closer to 230 just so that we could be above average, just because this number is way out of whack. And the reason it's out of whack is because of the directories that are in there, the Justias and all that stuff really screw it up. And then the rest of the process, we actually just go through this whole list here and find the stuff that's really important. And we identify that. If you see over here, everything that's marked in green is stuff that's really important that needs to be addressed on the website. There's, I want to say, probably about 30 points of on-page optimization that we could do to increase the rankings of this page for the target terms. And it's almost evergreen work, right? So if you talk about, if you're listening from a perspective of talking about Google updates, etc., typically they don't do a whole lot of Google updates that affect on-page optimization and the ranks that come with them. And all the Google updates are all link building stuff. So there are some quality content stuff, but we're writing quality content. There are some internal linking stuff, but we're taking care of that. But for the most part, those updates really attack link building and the methods behind it. And with this process of on-page optimization and site quality assessments, we can tell without the use of links where we can get to rank. And then our link building efforts, which obviously we're going to have to do links, is going to be a little bit more useful. Finally, while we're still on this page, I want to talk about the potential money that can come along from gathering a number top one or top two or top three position in the search results for this term. There's a monthly search volume of 888. Take that number with a complete grain of salt because all the different tools give different numbers. Your PPC campaign will actually tell you the number of impressions per week, and you just multiply that by 4 and you'll actually have a better search volume number. My assumption is it's probably going to be around the 200 mark. This is mostly lawyers and mostly SEOs looking at this. So we want to look at on a national level. So we want to look at specifically PPC in Phoenix. So I think 200 might be pretty conservative. The value of the sale is $21,000. Total cost of this campaign for $2,000 a month is going to be $12,000 for 6 months. So $2,000 a month for 6 months would be $12,000. You expect to be in the top 3 positions by that time. That ROI will result in nine sales if over a course of 18 months, assuming everything stays the same. You can actually turn that into a couple million. So you have your numbers better. A business will have their numbers better. You can actually plug this in. You can check out and look at Google Analytics and Search Console and PPC, determine conversion rates, apply the firm's true value for a sale, or their true average, and come out with even clearer numbers like that as part of the process of onboarding. And then here, we just look at some different information that's possible to add in some resources should we take on content marketing. And it's all kept on file, and we keep this on several data websites, and the stuff is updated constantly to make sure that we're always on top of the market and we know where SEO is going for this term and many others. Okay, let's get into the fun part. This is the area that everyone gets in trouble with. And frankly, it's just because of a lack of understanding of what is going on. And how to actually build backlinks in a way that makes it a lot safer. So first off, we already talked about the site structure, and if you remember the site bulb site structure visualization, the way that it actually set up is how we like to do it as well. But we actually create pages inside of there that we can send backlinks to that we would call I refer to them, and I've coined them as kill pages. So if and when an algorithm hits the website and you just delete that one page, you can delete all the backlinks that are pointing to it, and you can start fresh, and you've instantly recovered the website. And you build a brand new kill page, as it were, and start your link building campaigns all over again. I can tell you since 2015, I have not been hit by a link building penalty. Only one client that we've had has actually been hit by a penalty, and that was the agency that we ranked for SEO company, professional SEO, top SEOs, and much more. We were doing work for them, and that website was a developer error, and we didn't have interlinking done properly. So that was since 2015, the only algorithm change that we hit, and it's because we're building these kill pages, we're doing our on page right. And link building is not that scary. So what we like to do from a link building perspective is actually just see what kind of backlinks are going on. Who else is actually building or has built links to this website? what is their anchor text diversity, where are the links coming from, what kind of links coming from, how are they captured, that kind of stuff. And then we look at it from a comparative view. You just plug the website into these tools and look at competition count and see if we're actually on par with the competition, or what backlinks the competition has had that makes that we can get easily on top of that, and just kind of build that up. And really what we're doing at the end of the day is padding this backlink vote count, and boosting it up in such a way that makes it a whole lot safer to attack keywords like Arizona car accident, Phoenix car accident attorney, Phoenix truck accident lawyers, Phoenix motorcycle accident lawyers, all low volume keywords. I think these keyword volumes are actually more residual, and the site is actually doing really okay. But it needs to be up in the top 3 for these keywords, and you can do that with proper backlinks and tweaking those pages a little bit more using cognitive SEO. Okay. And then finally, we look at one thing that most people miss is that anchor text ratio. And if you don't know, basically what anchor text is any link that is blue and it has words on it. Those words are the anchor text. So in your case, an anchor text could be the Hirsch and Lyon accident law. It could be a link with the URL, and the URL would be the anchor text, or it could say car accident attorney and then send you to the Arizona car accident attorney page on the website. And we want to look at that diversity, because just like clients, or just like businesses need to look at the top 100 organic, they need to look at the anchor text diversity of the top ranking websites and see what they're doing, because Google has given us the rules that say this is how you need to be linked to get into the top 10. This is how you need to be linked to get into the top 3. And that's where that anchor text diversity stuff comes in. We look through all of that stuff and make it really good. Okay, so in closing, I think that the website is actually pretty sound from an SEO perspective. I would do some more work definitely on the on-page optimization. We would do a whole lot more work in schema. The schema is it's not really there up to par from the looks of it as being implemented with Yoast SEO, which is an okay tool, but we've done a scientific testing and we've proven that that schema markup it's on par what everyone else is doing. So ergo, you're not getting a benefit from it that you would otherwise. And with that, I am going to say, if you want more information, if you like Digital Ear to come check you out, or you didn't reach out to us, and we'll talk some more about getting your website ranked. Okay, so that's the audit for this week. I hope you guys at least pick something up. Personal injury attorney. Phoenix is not really like there's a lot of money that goes into SEO for those types of keywords, right? The lawyers spend a lot of money, and the competition gets a little bit stiff. But you also have to get around sites like Find Law and Justivia, Super Lawyers, and as always, the Yelp is always in there too. So, and just kind of knowing that and knowing from a perspective of how you're going to do it and how you're going to capture that, I think is key. So with that, I thank all of you for watching SEO this week, episode 178. Leave in the comments. Let me know. What do you think? What do you think of the audit format? Are you guys going to get something out of it? I know that there will be more to be got out of this format as you all engage, ask questions, etc. So if you have questions, please be sure to answer them in the chat box. I'd like to close out and just going through and answering questions for people because it's kind of pay it forward for all the things that you've all done for me, and just watching the show, right? So I think make sure that you're answering questions. And with that, bring out the chat. and Stoned Ape. Sounds like someone I knew in Washington. What sites best to use for kill or buffer pages? So on a website, let me see if they have one here. Actually, I know that they have one. On here, they have their contact page set up. I wouldn't actually use this page, but I would use this setup. And what I would do is have all the same stuff that they've got on here, minus this the map stuff here, right? I wouldn't have that, but I'd have all of this, and then on there, instead of view map, it would actually go to the website, the page on the website that I would be using. And this is the page that I would send all my backlinks to and pass them all to the rest of these. This takes a little bit longer to actually see the power through here. But if you have all your interlinking and stuff right, it works really crazy well, because this page is linked to all of these pages, and then all of these pages are linked to this page right here. And then this particular URL, which would be a locations page in the application that I would use it for, it would be the one that's getting all the backlinks. And you can make, our location or locations, all that stuff. You can probably rinse and repeat and do that quite a few times and create some good stuff. As for buffer pages, typically I don't think about my link building in a buffer pages or pillowing like thought, right? I just don't think that way. I have good tier ones. Anything that's linking to a money site has to be good. You can't put people's businesses at risk, right? So you have some good tier ones, and then you just send some good backlinks to those tier ones. Why? Because they were good enough to link for you to your website, your money site, or your client's website. You don't want to burn those out. So think about it in that perspective. And you can build some decent, in the term they use as buffer pages for your link buildings efforts. At the end of the day, the link hubs right there. Now I can't know that all that many people are even using that. I know I've taught it a couple times at SEO conferences and stuff, and talked about the value and pushing that through. But even still, people aren't doing that, much less getting their interlinking done right. So, okay. Any other questions? IFTTT backlinks. That's for Everart. IFTTT has gone to the new Pro model, right? So, I think the date is past where you can move that up, but the concept behind it still works. And it's really, if you're doing it right, the way that I was initially taught, you're setting those, like the client here, he would post let's say they would post a new video or something, right? And they host that video on their website and they publish to it, and it syndicates out to IFTTT. That is actually not a bad thing, because what you're doing is you're promoting your content. You're writing a blog post, and that blog post with the excerpt is getting sent out to all of your broadcast points, which is typically the bloggers, the WordPress.com, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, your Facebook page, your LinkedIn company page, all that stuff, right? All of those are all your broadcast points, and that's your brand talking about what your brand is doing on your website, and you're creating backlinks like that automatically. And that's normal, acceptable part of doing business. And you can certainly use those to send some links to those brand pages if you want to. At the same time, it's definitely worth the effort, because you make those powerful, and the more power your brand has, you get to do two things. One, you take over the search results for your brand name, and two, you have a nice set of links pointing to your website, and you don't have to go crazy with. Let's see, Connor. I got lazy with a few location pages and put the pop suggestions in a transparent hidden tab with responsive web and design. Will that hidden text still get indexed by Google for ranking? It sure does. There's been a lot of talk in the SEO community, especially on like the news sites and the We Love Google crowd, right? That Google is not reading those, but all testing indications have proven time and time again that Google reads the HTML of your website. They're not looking at it from the perspective of a person. It's a robot reading the website code and turning that code and saying, hey, this is what this website's about, right? So if you have a responsive design that's CSS and it's transparent and then it's hidden, but the robot can still see it in your HTML, it's still there. It's not hidden, and it still get applied. I would caution you to doing stuff like that, because if you're in a high competitive niche, or you just happen to get unlucky and have what I like to call a narc SEO. That's the person that goes through and finds all the things wrong with your website and then reports you to Google because you're a big bad person. Then that could be an issue, but it takes some talent, like someone to specifically go through that code and look for it and kind of find that stuff out. Everhart, is there a risk of that being classified as cloaking, or would you mitigate that by a closed accordion with an accordion title? No, it's not. That's not cloaking. Cloaking is a different thing. Cloaking would be a poor man's cloaking if you get pretty links and you can actually cloak the money URL. So when that 301 comes, it still says your URL on it, but it's actually loading someone else's website. That's poor man's cloaking. There's other tools you can get a little bit more into that, but in the case of what Steve is saying, that's not cloaking. Or I mean, what Connor was saying. Yeah, that's not cloaking. Can you make an accordion that doesn't open if you click it? I honestly, I've never tried. If you make it the title, if you make the title of the accordion kind of obscure, like why would they really want to click it anyway, right? But also, again, I would caution you because you don't want to get into a site reported instance, right? So if you're going to do tabs, accordions and stuff, and you want to use that to boost word count, and you want to use that to boost and add more relevancy and stuff like that, or do it in a much more practical way. What I'm talking about is kind of an example that I did on Digitaleer. Here's the screen. As you see, and I got to make a video and I got to fix this up to make it better for CTR. But I have tabs here, and each one of these tabs has drop downs for frequently asked questions, etc. And so while I've added a whole lot of content on here, I've also it's hidden, right? There are tabs that are hidden, but Google's reading all this stuff. Google's finding all this stuff, and so an application like this would be a whole lot smarter than say just putting an accordion on there and having this one hidden tab and stuff. It just, it passes the view of a real person looking at it. And in particular, you guys all know my history. I'm not afraid to challenge and test the models that Google is saying that things that we can and can't do, right? But at the same time, I don't recommend doing that kind of stuff to a real business's website, just because it's not risk from Google. Again, it's risk from other people who want to kind of make their bones on your back. Yeah, the stuff I hit is unrepeatable. Yeah, unreadable crap. We test with unreadable crap, right? So we do the lorem ipsum tests, or random alpha, or English ipsum, and that's how we test. So I totally get it. Um, I just say, just be careful. If it's churn and burn, if you're doing it at a website or as you're doing like a launch jack or something like that, then all's fair in that game. But if you're doing it on a anything that you really care about, just be significantly careful about that stuff. But yeah, Google will read it, and you will get away with it for quite some time, actually. So, um, that's all I'm gonna say about that. All right. You got anything else? Any other questions? Okay, cool. All right. So, just to recap, I want to give a shout out to Adrian Diaz. He's the one that helped me kind of get my production going here a little bit better and pointed me in the right direction. Found the tools necessary to learn about what I was trying to do or what I wanted to do. So, um, I think this is really cool. I like this kind of step up the whole production game, as it were. So I want to thank him for that. If you could, thumbs up, thumbs down, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Again, if you would like to see some different perspectives from the SEO audit stuff, drop that in the comments on YouTube or on the website, and I will kind of take that into consideration as I do more of these for the show. We will actually talk about and look about getting this a little bit more refined. It is dry, right? So we're needing engagement. If you don't want it to be dry, you got to engage, and we'll figure out how to kind of make that a little bit more better. And if that means I got to do like some flying squirrels and stuff jumping in here and all that stuff to keep your guys' attention, then that's what I'm going to do, damn it. So, well, thank you very much. We'll see you next week. And this is SEO This Week, episode 178.